Today we're going to learn about styling text with CSS. So our question of the day is, how can we change the style of text on a web page? So first thing we're going to do is just take a look at the sample website. We're just going to examine how this website, a little bit different, plays around with things like color and just the way that the text looks as opposed to the websites, the more simplistic ones we've seen before. Let's go back. And we will continue on to learn more. All right, adding style. The Web Lab project using a new language to add style to the page. So you're going to explore both the index.html, that's right here, but also the style.css, which is over here. So what changes is this new language making to the page? How is it different from HTML, and how are they connected? So remember that we can click on the inspector thing to learn. And if you look over here, it's showing us that this is, the familiar heading, H1. This one has H2, and then we kind of space it out right there. But we can also click over here, and this shows us that this is aligned, this is red, right? So there's certain colors over here, like this tells us that this is blue, and then it's centered. So that's kind of interesting. There's a video I'd like for you to watch, and if you're done with that, we'll move on to here. So the HTML file uses a style sheet called style.css to give the page a particular style. It contains information about what each of the HTML elements should look like. Well, first of all, what is CSS? Let's go down to that. It stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and it's a language that controls the way content on a web page appears. It uses rule sets to change the look of it. So an example, like right here, that makes the text in an H2 tag. Remember, that's the second largest heading tag, blue and cursive. So that's what it would look like to make it cursive. So what colors can you use? The most common colors, red, blue, green, etc., and a bunch of uncommon ones. And you can click on this to get a full list of them. The code, how does it work? H1 is the selector. So right here in the H1. So when we use H1, it's going to make it red. Color is the property, red is the value. All right, so let's go down over here, do this. Find the code in the style sheet. So let's select on style.css that is making the H1 heading red. Well, it says right there, red. So change the code for the color of the H1 from red to a different color. Well, my favorite color is green. So now it looks green. Pretty cool. Making a new CSS rule set. The block of code that gives rules for a particular tag is called a rule set. You can make a new rule set by copying the pattern you see in the rule set for the H1 tag. So do this. Find the CSS rule set in the style sheet that determines the style for the H1 tag. So here it is. Using the same pattern, write a new CSS rule set that will determine the style for the H3 tag. Add code to a different set, to a different color for the H3 tags. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this entire thing. We're going to paste it here. But we're going to change it so it's no longer H2 and it's H3 now, but we're going to make it a different thing. We're going to make it, what are we going to make it? We're going to make it blue. We'll make it cadet blue. So it looks a little bit different right there. Now, we also don't want it to be quite so big, I don't think. So instead, let's make it smaller. We don't want it to be 14, that's too small. We don't want it to be 24, that's too big. We'll maybe make it 20. All right, and it looks like we successfully changed the color and we changed the size for it. Now, keep in mind, H3 had a preset one earlier about what it would be, right? But I just changed it. So we can always make it look different right there if we wanted to. So now when it says H3, that's the size that it means. So historically, H3 was different, but I can always change that. I make the rules behind the scenes here. You can control other things besides colors by using other properties. Do this, find the CSS rule set in the style sheet that determines the style for the paragraph tag. Change text size of the paragraphs and the headings. So if we look over here, font size is 24, H3 is 20, but as we said before, we can make it 28. Oops, make it 28 if we want to. We can make it 38 if we want to. This one we can make size 4 if we want to make it super small, or we can just make it something a little bit more normal. Then down over here, we can make this 23. So that's cool. We were able to change the size for all of them. Please watch this and then continue when you're done. Now we are adding the style sheet. The developer has been working on some style for the page, but has forgotten to add the style sheet. Oh no, none of them work. Do this. Inside the HTML page, so here we are, add the code that will link the style sheet to the web page. This is what we need to add to it. So it says link style.css. So we need to put it between the heading part. So if I copy this right here, that will link it so that all the rules that I have written right here in the style will appear in here because none of them are in here. So if I put it in between the heading right here, now it works with the rules that I listed before. And if I don't like my rules, of course, I can always change them again, as we talked about before. So now we can click on one of these things to debug and figure out what's going wrong. We're going to debug the font size right here. Someone submitted a bug report on the web page. Can you fix the bug? Paragraph font is expected to be 24x, but the paragraph font is default size. How did that happen? That's why you need to add in a little dash like that right there to make sure that it connects. So that's why the font size didn't work. It was close, but not quite there. So there we go. We were able to finish that one. All right, so just go through and see if you can find all the other ones. And then when you're done, move on to the next part. And then this page is just for you to have fun with it. You link the style sheet, which is already linked right here. Make the paragraph text a different size. Make the paragraph text a different color. Again, you look over here, and you would add in the parts right over there to change around. The font size is already there, but how do you go to a different color? Well, remember, you can always go back to another one and steal the code that we had before so that you can remember how to do it. In fact, you may want to create a little sheet over here, like sticky notes, to paste down so you have an easy place to copy and paste if you know it's something that you're going to use a lot. So keep that in mind for when you're going through this. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to skip ahead to the next part. And then make sure that you pick one of these to double check. There's some extra code right over here, how to make different font styles, to put lines under, over, or through your text, to space out the letters, all sorts of fun stuff we can start to get into right here. And when you're done playing around with that, there you go. Don't forget to add little parts there to your notes, your sticky notes, if you want to remember, and then you're all done with this lesson.